Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's video is going to be part of a new 6-part series I'm going to make. In this series, I'll be explaining how each of the 300 largest cities in the USA, in alphabetical order, got their names. And in each video, we will be going over 50 cities. So this video will go over 50 cities from A to C and how they each got their names, specifically Abilene, Texas to Clarksville, Tennessee. All timestamps are in the description, and without further ado, let's get started with this video. So first up, like I just stated, we have the city of Abilene, Texas. Now when Abilene was founded in 1881 by the Pacific Railway Company, the company chose to name the city after the city of Abilene in Kansas, which was a major railhead back in the second half of the 19th century. And the name Abilene, Kansas came from settlers Timothy and Elizabeth Hersey, who named the city after the word Abilene from the Bible, which is a biblical term meaning city of the plains, and Abilene was named this because it was a city in the plains, like most Midwest cities. Next up, we got Akron, Ohio. The name Akron is an ancient Greek word meaning elevation or peak, and Akron was named this because Akron is the highest point in Summit County and is the most elevated major city in Ohio, with an elevation of 306 meters. Now next, we have Albuquerque, New Mexico. When Albuquerque was originally founded in 1706 by New Mexico colony governor Don Francisco Cuervo y Valdez, Valdez informed the Duke of Albuquerque, back in Spain, of their new city, and then proceeded to name it Albuquerque in honor of the Duke. Over time, the R in Albuquerque was dropped, leaving behind the name Albuquerque, which is being used today. Next, we have Alexandria, Virginia. When the city Alexandria was founded in 1749, the city was named to Alexandria in honor of Scotsman John Alexander, who owned most of the land of what is now present-day Alexandria. Next, we have Allen, Texas. Originally, Allen, Texas was a small township located along the Houston, Texas Central Railway, and Allen was named after a former Attorney General of Texas and Houston, Texas Central Railway promoter named Ebenezer Allen. Due to his prominence and support, the Houston, Texas Central Railway Company decided to name the town to Allen in honor of Ebenezer Allen. Next, we have Allentown, Pennsylvania. This one is very simple. It was named after its founder, James Allen. After Allen founded the city in 1762, he chose to name the city to Allentown after himself. Next, we have Amarillo, Texas, which simply just means yellow in Spanish. Now the reason the city was named to Amarillo is because the city is located very close to the Amarillo Creek, which had yellow subsoil, and since the city needed a name, they just chose to name it after the Amarillo Creek. Next, we have Anaheim, California. Anaheim got its name from German settlers living in San Francisco who moved south to present-day Anaheim. Once they arrived and established the city, they named the city Anna after the nearby Santa Ana River, and they added Heim to the end, which is German for home. Combined, this created the name Anaheim, which the settlers used as the name for the new city. Now we have Anchorage, Alaska. When the city was first founded in 1914 by Alaska Railroad, it was a small tent settlement which was used to house employees of the railroad. Quickly, this settlement turned into a large town, and it got large enough that Alaska Railroad held a vote to rename the city. Here are some of the names on screen that were proposed and voted on, and the name that was chosen was Alaska City. However, US federal government declined the name, and they chose to name it Anchorage after a small hardwood store in the city, and also because Anchorage meant a place to dock ships, and the city of Anchorage was the perfect place to dock your ship. Next, we have Ann Arbor, Michigan. Ann Arbor was founded in 1824 by two men named John Allen and Elisha W. Rumsey, and when they were thinking of a name for the new city, they named it after their wives, who were both named Ann, and they also named the place after the natural arbors found in the area. Combined, this created the name Ann Arbor. Next, we have Antioch, California. In 1851, 2 years after the city was founded in 1849 by brothers Reverend William Wigan Smith and Reverend Joseph Horton Smith, there was a town gathering, and at this gathering, William told all the residents that he was going to make the name of the town Antioch. William chose Antioch because it was an important biblical city in Syria. And since a lot of the new settlers of Antioch, California were disciples of Christ, and one had recently passed away, William chose to name the city to Antioch, in memory of the settler that had passed. Now we have Arlington, Texas. Arlington was originally a midway stop for the railway between Dallas and Fort Worth, and was established in 1876. Since the new town needed a name, the founders of the town, who were land surveyors hired by the Texas and Pacific Railroad, chose the name of the new city to be Arlington, after Robert E. Lee's plantation estate, the Arlington House, located in Virginia. Now we have Arvada, Colorado. When Arvada became an incorporated city in 1870, it was required to come up with a name, so an Arvada citizen named Benjamin F. Wadsworth was tasked with creating a name for the city. Wadsworth turned to his wife Mary Ann, who chose to name the city to Arvada, after her brother-in-law, Hiram Arvada Haskin. Next, we have Athens, Georgia. Athens, Georgia was named after the city of Athens in Greece by John Millage, who was a former Georgia governor. Millage chose the name Athens because in the classical world, Athens was the center of education, and Athens, Georgia was home to the University of Georgia, which was the first land-grant university in the US. Now we have Atlanta, Georgia. When Atlanta was first founded in 1837, it was a terminus for the Western Atlantic Railway, and was originally named Marthasville after a former Georgia governor's son. However, this didn't last long, and the name was soon changed to Atlanta, which was the feminine version of the word Atlantic, as the city was located at the Atlantic side of the railway. Now we have Augusta, Georgia. When Augusta, Georgia was established in 1736 by James Oglethorpe, it was named to Augusta after Princess Augusta of Saxe-Gotha. Next, we have Aurora, Illinois. In 1837, right after the first post office was built in the city, the name was changed to Aurora, after the Roman goddess of dawn, and the city lives up to this name, being one of the first cities in the US to have street lamps. Now we have Aurora, Colorado. Aurora was originally named Fletcher, after the city's founder, Donald Fletcher. However, after a water shortage caused by the Denver Depression in 1893, Fletcher ditched the town, leaving all residents behind with huge water debts. Residents were not happy with this, so a decade later in 1907, the city was renamed to Aurora, after a subdivision within the city. Now we have Austin, Texas. Austin, which is the capital city of Texas, was named Austin in 1839, 2 years after the city was established in 1837. The city was named in honor of Stephen F. Austin, who is known as the father of Texas, along with Sam Houston, who together allowed Spanish Texas to gain its independence. However, this independence was short-lived, and Texas soon joined the United States. Now we have Bakersfield, California. We're on B's now. Bakersfield was simply named after its founder, Thomas Baker, who established the settlement which is now present-day Bakersfield in 1863. Next we have Baltimore, Maryland. Originally, Maryland was founded as the colony of Maryland by former Newfoundland governor and English politician Cecil Calvert II, Baron of Baltimore, in 1624, and a century later, in 1729, the city of Baltimore was founded and was named after Calvert. Next we have Baton Rouge, Louisiana. The name Baton Rouge is French for red stick. In 1699, the French visited the area of present-day Baton Rouge, and right beside the river, they spotted a stick that was stained red with animal blood. This stick was used as a boundary for two local indigenous tribes, with one tribe living to the north and one tribe living to the south of the stick. Now the French took note of this red stick, and 2 decades later in 1721 they came back and established a new settlement, and since they took note of that red stick, they decided to name it Baton Rouge. Now we have Beaumont, Texas. Beaumont was founded in 1838 by businessman Henry Millard, and he chose to name the city to Beaumont after his wife, Mary Dubulus Barlas Warren Beaumont. Now we have Bellevue, Washington. Bellevue just means a beautiful view in French, and the city was named to this in the 1880s because a new post office was built in the city, and the view from the top floor was described as very beautiful. There is also a second theory stating that the city was named after Bellevue, Indiana, of which some notable residents of Bellevue, Washington were from. Next we have Bend, Oregon. The city was originally named Farewell Bend after a sharp 90-degree turn in the Deschutes River, of which the city was situated next to. However, in 1910, the name was shortened to Bend by the United States Post Office Department, as the name Farewell Bend was too long. Next we have Berkeley, California. Berkeley was simply named after Anglo-Irish bishop and philosopher George Berkeley. Now we have Billings, Montana. Billings was first founded in 1882 as a railway town along the Northern Pacific Railway, and the city was named after the former president of the railway, Frederick H. Billings. Next we have Birmingham, Alabama. Birmingham, Alabama was named after Birmingham in the United Kingdom. The reason this city was named after Birmingham is because both cities were rich in minerals such as iron ore, and due to this similarity, the founders of Birmingham, Alabama chose to name it after Birmingham, England. Now we have Boise, Idaho. The name Boise is a French word meaning wooded, and it came into use from French-Canadian hunters who would come to the present-day Boise area for hunting. The Boise River, which was originally known as the Wooded River, likely because of the forests in the area, was translated by the French to Boise, and the name has remained since, with the city of Boise being named after the river. Next we have Boston, Massachusetts. Boston was named after a town in England, also named Boston, but the name Boston comes from St. Botolph. The English town Boston was originally named St. Botolph's Town, but it was shortened into Boston. Next we have Bridgeport, Connecticut. Bridgeport was named after a large bridge in the city that span across the Pequonnock River. Unfortunately, I was unable to find out what bridge due to the lack of information. Next, we have Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. Broken Arrow is actually a translation of the name of an American Indian Creek community who were forced to move to present-day Broken Arrow after being kicked out of their original land in Alabama. They were called the Fleecorchka Creek community, and I know the pronunciation may sound wrong, but that's how it's pronounced in their native language. Fleecorchka translates to Broken Arrow, which is where the name came from, and the city was then named after them when it was founded. Now we have Brownsville, Texas. Brownsville was named after Fort Brown, which in turn was named after U.S. Army Major Jacob Brown, who died fighting in the Mexican-American War during the siege of Fort Texas. Next, we have Buckeye, Arizona. In 1884, a settler living in present-day Buckeye, named Marley M. Jackson, built a 16-kilometer section of the Buckeye Canal to supply water to the town. He named the canal Buckeye after his home state of Ohio, which was nicknamed the Buckeye State. The town Buckeye was originally named Sydney, which was the name of Jackson's Ohio hometown. However, Sydney was nicknamed Buckeye because of the canal. Because of this nickname, the city officially changed its name to Buckeye in 1910. Now we have Buffalo, New York. Now we know that Buffalo was named after the Buffalo Creek flowing through the city. However, there's multiple theories to how the creek Buffalo got its name. One theory states that the creek was named after Buffalo because there were lots of buffaloes wandering the area of present-day Buffalo, New York. Another theory states that English settlers in the area saw a Seneca Indian that looked like a buffalo, or had a name that means buffalo. Another theory states that settlers saw likely elk or cattle bones and thought they were bison bones, and in turn they named it the creek to Buffalo. And two more theories state that the two French phrases, bois blond or beau fleuve, were anglicized to Buffalo. I think the most likely origin of the name is the anglicization of the French phrase beau fleuve, meaning beautiful river, because the French were describing a creek, and when the British took over the Buffalo area in 1763, they anglicized the name to Buffalo. And now we're entering the cities beginning with C's. Now we have Cambridge, Massachusetts. Cambridge was simply named after Cambridge University in Cambridge, England, because many of the founders of Cambridge, Massachusetts had attended Cambridge University. Next, we have Cape Coral, Florida. Now, I could not find a single bit of information on how the city got its name, so I did some research on the history, and I made my own inference. In 1957, two brothers from Baltimore, Maryland, named Jack and Leonard Rosen, came to present-day Cape Coral and established a new city that they would heavily market as the perfect place to live, or water wonderland. And the brothers must have come up with the name Cape Coral because it sounds like the name of a holiday destination. Now, I took a look at some satellite shots of the city, and that is not a cape. It is too wide to be one, and I also did some research on their local flora and fauna, and I could not find anything mentioning coral in the area. So this confirmed that the name Cape Coral was just part of a marketing strategy to get people to live in the city in the early 60s. Next, we have Carlsbad, California. Now, after a water test was conducted in the city, it was discovered that the water quality was as good as some of the water in the world's most famous spas, and because of this new discovery, the city was named Carlsbad after the bohemian spa town of Carlsbad, which is present-day Karlovy Vary in the Czech Republic. Next, we have Carrolton, Texas. Carrolton, Texas was simply named after Carrollton, Illinois in 1878, as most of the settlers of Carrolton, Texas were from Carrollton, Illinois, which was named after Charles Carroll, who was one of the signees of the Declaration of Independence. Now we have Cary, North Carolina. The city of Cary was named after a former Ohio senator named Samuel Fenton Cary, who was the leader of a large prohibition movement. The founder of Cary, North Carolina, Allison Francis Page, was a big supporter of the prohibition movement, so when he founded the city in 1854, he named it to Cary, after Senator Cary. Next, we have Cedar Rapids in Iowa. Cedar Rapids was named after the rapids that could be seen in the Cedar River, which in turn was named after the cedar trees that lined the banks of the river. Now we have Chandler, Arizona. Chandler was named after the first veterinarian in Arizona Territory, Dr. Alexander John Chandler. Next, we have Charleston, South Carolina. When first founded in 1670, Charleston was originally named Charlestown, after King Charles II of England. A century later in 1783, the name was shortened to Charleston. Next, we have Charlotte, North Carolina. Charlotte was named after King George III's wife, Charlotte of Mecklenburg-Strelitz, by British settlers in 1768. Next, we have Chattanooga, Tennessee. The name Chattanooga is a Cherokee Indian word meaning rock coming to a point, or end of a mountain. The city was named this because it is located at the foot of the Lookout Mountain, with the other side terminating in Georgia. Next, we have Chesapeake, Virginia. The name comes from the word Chespowick, which is an Algonquin Indian word meaning village at a big river, likely in reference to the Elizabeth River running through the city. Some also say that the name refers to the Chesapeake indigenous people who inhabited the area. Next, we have Chicago, Illinois. The name Chicago is a French interpretation of the American Indian word Chicago, which means onion. And the city was named this because early explorers had reported seeing lots of wild onions and leeks, even some floating in the rivers of present-day Chicago. Next, we have Chula Vista, California. Chula Vista just means beautiful view in Spanish, and the city was named this in 1888, after a resident in the city named James D. Schleyer suggested the name. Now, I couldn't find a reason why Schleyer suggested this name, but I assume it was to describe the new views that could be seen from the top floors of the new homes that were being constructed around the time the name was suggested. Next, we have Cincinnati, Ohio. The city was named to Cincinnati in 1790 by former Northwest Territory Governor General Arthur St. Clair because he didn't like the original name of Louisville. I agree with him, the new name is better, plus some people might mix up Louisville with nearby Louisville, but I digress. The name Cincinnati comes from the Roman general Lucius Quintius Cincinnatus. And finally, we have Clarksville, Tennessee. Clarksville was founded in 1784, and when it was founded, it was named after General George Rogers Clark, who fought in the Revolutionary War. Now that's it for this video. This is part 1. Part 2 will be coming out soon, and we will go over Clearwater, Florida to Gilbert, Arizona, so keep an eye out for that if you want to see it. You can do this by turning on notifications. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe.